and I write the comic Bog-haunter, which is about tiny humans living in a world of big insects. And it's especially about the fast and fearsome predators, the dragonflies. So today I'm fortunate to be talking to a scientist who spent a field season capturing dragonflies in the Bruce Peninsula and attaching tiny radio transmitters to them. So Grace Pitman is an ecologist, and she's talking to us from Ontario. Welcome, Grace.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Let's start by talking about this project. What were you trying to find out about dragonflies?
Well, very little is known about dragonfly migration, and there's one other previous study that did something very similar, attaching little tiny radio tags on them, and they actually tracked them by a plane. But in Ontario and other areas in Canada, there's a very cool network of radio telemetry towers that's called the Modus Array. When an insect or bird or bat it has a tag on it and is flying by a tower, it will get detected. So we thought we should just, have a kind of preliminary test of looking at how fast they're flying, where are they going, when are they leaving, are there any patterns to what they're doing.
Do all dragonflies migrate, or is it only some species?
No, it's only some species. Very few in Ontario and in Canada migrate. And the common green darner is one of them.
And where are they going?
There are some theories, and there's definitely some confirmed sightings of where they end up, but definitely Central and South America, Mexico, but the whole range isn't really known. And our study couldn't follow them on that whole journey, just because we don't have the radio telemetry towers everywhere. But we at least got some directions of which way they're going and kind of the first leg of their journey.
So describe the work you did. Is it hard to capture dragonflies? How did you go out and get them?
It is very hard to capture them. I'm sure that there's people that are better at it than I am, but I had caught dragonflies, just for fun. And I also spent several summers working as a park naturalist. So we would be, catching dragonflies to identify them and see which species are in the parks and stuff like that. But it's a little different when you're just looking for one species and you need to catch them. And the darners are very fast. What worked for me was catching them in meadows and that were open, that didn't have too many things to trip on, and just using a standard insect net that has quite a big opening and a long, nice handle, and doing a little bit of stalking, so waiting to see them land on something, and then kind of sneaking up on them. But you do also have to be ready to run. It does help if it's earlier in the morning when it's not super warm and they're not able to fly as fast because they need to warm up their flight muscles. I also enlisted the help of some friends and family. My dad was actually not too bad. He caught a couple.
How many could you catch in a day, for example?
So the study was done over 2 years in the fall. So it was September 2015 and 2016. And total for what I used in the study was 38 dragonflies. But there were some that I caught that were just too light. So I wanted to make sure that they weighed enough, they were big enough to be able to carry a radio transmitter. So sometimes I got ones that had just recently emerged that were just small, and they just range. I was also at the same time catching monarch butterflies too.
Right.
So yeah, they were a little bit easier to catch though. They're a bit slower, and it would help. When they're migrating, they're often flying, far distances in a day, and then they're nectaring and refueling. And when they do that, when they're really starved, they aren't moving. You can have the bottom of the plant and move it back and forth, and they're just holding on because they're just so hungry. Where the dragonflies are actively hunting to get their prey.
Once you've caught it, then you have to attach the radio transmitter. Is it difficult to handle a small animal like that?
It's a bit fiddly. I had done a fair amount of insect pinning which is also very fiddly, and you don't want to mess that up because once you put it in, that's pretty much it. So I think that helped. And I don't know, growing up, I always loved tiny little things as well. So maybe that had something. But once you have them, you can kind of immobilize them by holding their wings. So you have their wings kind of going up and their body hanging down. And then I would just kind of hold them upside down and have everything prepped and ready. And I had already weighed them at this point. And then, you know, the first one was definitely daunting.
You don't worry about damaging the wings. They're fairly robust.
The wings are actually pretty strong. Like, of course, you want to be careful. You don't want to hold them too tight. And I think probably the biggest part would be when you put them together. It doesn't seem to affect their wings by holding them up. But if you were to, you know, if it was kind of folded or something, that would obviously damage them. But didn't have any problem releasing any of them afterwards. And
as soon as you let them go, they fly off as fast as they can?
Yeah, the darners they just were out of there. They were just happy to be gone, get away.
I want to ask a little more about this migration. Like, that's a very far distance if we think they're going as far as Central America. What kind of dangers would they meet along the way?
Definitely lots of predators. There's lots of, you know, birds and amphibians and like lots of things that would eat them. But then also, I'm sure, like human infrastructure, things that they would fly into. There are birds that are also migrating. They actually will wait for those big swarms, and their migration is like at the same time. Mm-hmm. So they're definitely picking off those migrating dragonflies.
So what benefit are the dragonflies getting from this migration? Obviously not all of them do it.
Well, usually with other migratory species, it's because they're, you know, not equipped to survive the winter. And insects definitely employ a variety of strategies to do that. So these individuals they're born at the end of the summer. So they're newly emerged adults that then migrate and go down and spend the winter there, and then they migrate back, reproduce, lay eggs, and then they die. So the summer individuals are non-migratory.
So there's two generations that kind of alternate, a migrating and a sedentary one.
There's at least two generations. I think that we still have more to learn about that. I wouldn't be surprised if there's three, or if the timing don't perfectly line up.
So how long does this journey take them? Like, what's the flight speed of a dragonfly?
That's another good question. I don't think we know how long the total journey takes, but from our study, the farthest dragonfly flew 122 kilometers in a single day, which is incredible. The average was 43 kilometers and traveled. And for actual speed, the flying speed with wind assist, so they are getting some help from the wind, was 77 kilometers per hour, which is also incredibly fast.
Yeah, that's like car fast.
Yeah, it is very fast for such a little insect.
What was kind of the most surprising discovery that came out of this research?
I would say how far they're moving in a day and how fast, and that they're waiting for the opportune days, which makes sense. If we were going to go on a long journey, not in a car, we would want to go on a nice day. Yeah, they're definitely waiting for days that less windy, or less windy in the wrong direction, and windy in the right direction that they're going.
Do we know what senses the dragonflies are using to navigate?
Not to my knowledge. My guess would be that there hasn't been many studies done about that.
Questions yet to discover. Cool. Thank you, Grace, so much for talking to us today.
Thanks for having me.
To our listeners, there will be more insect videos coming up on the website, bog-haunter.com, as well as weekly comic updates. Thank you so much for listening.